A decade long ago, an unprecedented event manifested in the skies of Tokyo. An alien-like structure called the Inverted Castle sprung into existence out of nowhere. Shortly after its manifestation, several dungeons began taking root in various parts of Japan, forever changing the world. A unique phenomenon occurred, causing mana to be infused with the humans and awakening their abilities. These were called the Talented, and they could hone their craft to become magicians to fight the dungeons and rise to glory. The interesting thing about a mage's talent is that their abilities could be judged from the peculiar color of mana emanating from their bodies. In this case, each mage possessed a single color which highlighted their proficiencies. But in some rare cases, mutations like the dual-color wielders also come into reality. This is the case with the protagonist's younger brother, a dude who's got an outfit that I want to steal. Kurosaki Kai is a dual-color wielder, commanding control over blue and red colors of mana. Kai is confident facing a terrifying monster. Their battle begins with the creature lunging to rip the human to pieces. But it's no trouble for the talented Kai, who easily activates his power to cast a demonic lance strike. This spear charged with his energies casually pierces the monster's skin and ultimately destroys it in a single attack. With the monster defeated, Kai walks up to collect its stone while his brother looks dismissively. Despite being the younger brother, Kai treats his older brother like dog shit and tosses the stone to his head, reminding him to pick up whatever resources are scattered. At this point, Kai had already reached level 89, which is pretty high up, earning him the title of the Purple King and solidifying his spot as one of the strongest mages to exist. Unfortunately, the opposite is the case for his shitty little brother, who is our lovely protagonist with absolutely no talents or skills at his disposal. You guys remember how dual color wielding is a rarity in this world? Well, our boy also got a rarity, but on the opposing end of the spectrum. He got the rarity of being colorless and devoid of powers. Introducing Kurosaki Rei, the level 1 loser. Now Rei is shown to be a persistent person, because despite not having access to any powers, Bro is determined to become a mage regardless. It's mainly why he works as a porter for now, the goal being to collect resources for his brother's party, who took pity on Rei and tagged him along. All this time, Rei has been partaking on these dangerous quests and dragging himself down in the hopes that someday, just one day, a miracle will occur and unlock some of his powers. Having blindly entrusted his dreams to that little hope, he still continues to travel with them today. Now let's talk about the present state of the party. They've just arrived at the boss's room, but with the way things have been going so far, Kai's lackeys think that this is going to be easy too. The giant doors open to allow them inside as Kai's party walks in the dark room while observing their surroundings. Suddenly, they see a figure facing them in the distance. Strangely enough, this figure appears somewhat human in its physical appearance. But hold on to your horses, because things are about to get wild with the god of time and space. Kronos looks at them with a bored expression, while Kai thinks this guy is just another fodder in his path. Expecting things to go like cakewalk like last time, he infuses his energy in multiple spears and sends the projectiles blitzing at the Kronos. In response, the god of time and space casually pulls out his dimensional blade and makes a mockery out of the attack by swiping down the spears. Bro is literally mewing with that 1,000-yard stare because he is not impressed. Kai, on the other hand, is in a chokehold, not knowing what to do. In a brutal, gruesome twist, Kronos locks down Kai as a target before impaling his thick skull with his attack. Now that is the definition of cold, because I was somewhat expecting this guy to make it to the end, like all annoying rival characters too. Witnessing his dead body flop to the ground, Kai's mates are speechless, while Rei doesn't even have a chance to comprehend what's taking place before his eyes. Hesitant to believe what just happened, Rei questions his own senses, unable to accept that the Purple King and one of the strongest mages in the world was taken out with a single attack. Recognizing the deity before them as a monster of destruction, Kai's underlings quickly tried escaping, which is a smart decision. But there's no point because Kronos kills them brutally in a fraction of a second. Despair overwhelms our boy as he flops to the ground in defeat. The once silent god then utters his first words, joyful to have found a colorless human among the group. Refusing to accept defeat, Rei musters all of his confidence in a single moment. He's been through so much shit in his life, so he wasn't going to let it all end now before achieving his goals. With that determination, though his body quivers to even stand, the colorless boy points his pointy weapon at the unstoppable god. Now that is the definition of bravery. Respect 1,000 gained. Kronos is rather amused that a colorless being is actually daring to face him when the rest of his comrades died a brutal death. Though his body is shaking, our boy is not ready to forfeit his life. In response to the child's bravery, the god of time and space decides that he'll test the kid's resolve. And well, Maybe you guys were expecting an easy, here you go, a new power-up. But nah. What happens instead is that Rei literally gets the Toji treatment from Jujutsu Kaisen. His body ruptures a part of itself from the side, making him scream in agony. Kronos doesn't even care and thinks that maybe he went a little too hard on that one. Using his control over time, he reverts back our boy's state to its healed self, much to Rei's shock. It's time for part 2 of this hellish trial. This time, Kronos unleashes unfathomable flames of and surrounds the kid in an arena of the hellfire flames of despair. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That attack title is badass. The deity is actually curious what this weak little human will do in response to such a trap. Of course, even as weak as he is, Rei knows that simple attacks won't cut something like this. But perhaps if he used the dimensional sword that Kronos used to kill his brother, things would be different. So Rei quickly goes and uses the blade to cut past the flames of despair with a forward lunge. Of course, even after being armed with a powerful weapon, his fragile body endures agonizing burns all over, making him wail in agony. Witnessing the boy's persistent stride, the god of time and space is actually amused. But his amused expression turns to complete shock when he senses a weapon piercing his chest. That's right. Our boy officially landed a clean hit on a fucking god. Call that a start of a series. But despite this attempt, Kronos lets out a sinister smile as he rewinds time again, putting the kid back to his starting position. Kronos remarks that he's impressed by the boy's commendable effort. However, Rei simply accepts defeat and shrinks on the floor, realizing it was over from the start. The thoughts of death and despair start creeping up inside his mind, filling it with a void of black. Unbeknownst to his wildest expectations, a system screen greets him, stating that the god of time and space presence has unleashed Rei's seal on his black skill. This actually comes as a shock to Kronos himself, who doesn't get what's going on. Our boy goes on to officially receive his first talent and skill drain, stealing Kronos' ability to rewind time. Rei is stupefied by what he's seeing on the system screen, while Kronos, a literal god, is breaking a sweat. At once, the kid unleashes the first usage of his rewind ability, but this time, he's not going back a few moments in time. In fact, his bold move just now is so wild that it even freaks out Kronos. The system kicks into overdrive and offers a full regression, turning the wheels of time back many years. Opening his eyes again, our boy realizes that though he used the rewind skill, he himself doesn't even know what the fudge happened. Staring at the reflection in the mirror, he realizes that he is looking at a younger version of himself. Now, I don't know about you guys, but robbing a skill from a literal god signals to me that this story is going to be really damn good. Let's also rewind time for ourselves for a few moments. When Rei casted the ability, a mysterious warrior revealed to him that he isn't powerful enough to bring down the god of time and space with his own powers. That is the main reason he entrusted this ability with Rei, believing that it should be capable of eventually defeating Kronos in the end. Back to the present, or better yet, the past. Our boy is contemplating if this is some kind of dream or not. But when he looks out the window, he sees the inverted castle maintaining its white color. Even though the castle was black yesterday, and was last seen as pure white 7 years ago, it tainted and eventually became a full black. Then and only then did its door open, and venturing through the castle, they encountered the god of time and space. Things start falling into pieces as Rei recalls the usage of his rewinding ability thanks to skill drain. Checking his phone just to confirm, bro realizes he actually did make it 7 years into the past. Popping open his skill window, he learns via the system that he has access to skill drain, but the rewinding ability is gone. But our boy couldn't give a damn about that because finally, just finally, he had acquired a talent for himself. His efforts of being unable to form a skill for a decade straight were despairing enough. Thanks to this new ability, he can open new doors and do things he could only dream about. Checking his phone, Rei suddenly realizes that today is supposed to be the day of the Mage exam. The scene cuts to the Chiyoda Ward, which is officially called the Mage Association headquarters. It's the only governing body responsible for controlling and monitoring the activities of beings known as the Mages, and helping them take on dungeon conquests. Arriving inside the building, Rei notices how it looks brand new, which only makes sense thanks to his time regression. Suddenly, Goto and Oike, the same dudes who are Kai's lackeys, bully him for being a colorless loser who's here for no reason. Even Rei remembers these clowns since he was a part of their party. Goto and Oiki are pretty invasive of our boy's space, and entertain the possibility that their dear colorless fellow over here is going to partake in the exam. They think it's pointless to take such an exam when you have no talent. And though he hates to admit it, Rei knows that they're right. It's not like this is his first ever rodeo. In fact, Our boy actually retook the Mage exam more than anyone just to get a passing grade. But in the end, all he got was failure upon failure. Swatting his hand away, Ray leaves the discussion, shocking the clowns that he's grown a bit of a spine out of nowhere. Now let's turn our attention to the exam proctor for the Mage exam. She's actually a B-rank mage called Hinata. And well, let's just say she isn't the happiest to see our boy popping up before her again. Hinata reminds the dude that he's going to get himself killed if he keeps this up. But Ray is willing to give it another shot. Shortly afterwards, he's taken to the exam site. Hinata doesn't want to have the hassle of explaining all the details to this guy since he knows them already. Ray prepares himself. His goal is to actually collect 3 magic stones from the goblins inside the dungeon. That's the only completion requirement, and for anyone having a simple skill, this is the easiest task. Normally, that is. Because today is notoriously special for conducting an exam where a horrifying incident occurred. A terrifying monster beyond the levels of this dungeon appeared from out of nowhere. The Red Cap is a level 37 monster, and well, bro is out here aura farming despite being a midget goblin. He approaches them menacingly, while the proctor is stunned that a creature like this appeared. She marches forth to become the decoy, all the while urging our boy to run for his life. However, even Ray understands that she can't beat the Red Cap, especially since their level differences are far too much. Now, in the original storyline, Hinata was unable to beat this guy and ultimately ended up getting brutally injured. She did her best to delay their doom and protected Ray until the very end. But still, the girl was getting pummeled and received injuries that led to her retirement. All thanks to Ray's uselessness, his incompetence, and his weakness. Did I just call him the same thing 3 different times? Yes, I did. Anyway, the Red Cap is directly responsible for ending her career, literally speaking. So this time, Gojo's nephew over here doesn't want to let that happen. Bro is determined to stand his ground, facing the threat lunging towards him. In a quick motion, Ray tosses his blade against the creature, recalling how the Red Cap is known for having a skill that buffs its physical stats, so much so that ordinary attacks are useless. However, our boy is an exception, because when weapons don't work, he takes the battle to his hands, rated E for everyone. Ray's punch only pisses off the goblin even more, as if the creature is offended by his sheer audacity of even trying. The Red Cap attempts to finish him off with its next attack, when suddenly, something happens. The system screen reveals that Ray has successfully stolen the body enhancement skill from the monster, buffing his own physical stats considerably. With this, Ray easily delivers a clean vertical slash, cutting the goblin like a fruit with his blade. Hinata is utterly shocked that this weak-ass dude defeated the Red Cap in a single strike. Internalizing his thoughts on skill drain, Ray reflects that he struck gold with his new power. As for Hinata, she's got a boatload of questions, and well, our boy is in a pinch because he doesn't know what to say. Clearly, he can't just blurt out that he's got a black skill. Bro's best excuse in this situation is that it was a mere coincidence. He's sweating bullets and Hinata's not going to fall for the gaslighting. Apart from that, she wants to cancel the exam because of the unexpected monster. Also, the incident will be logged and reported to their headquarters. As for Ray, he recalls that even irregulars shouldn't be appearing anytime soon, but he still requires the 2 more mana stones to complete the exam. But of course, the proctor isn't going to let him have it because of the dangers involved. Suddenly, 2 more goblins pop from out of the shadows, quickly aiming to attack them. But no worries, Ray makes light work of them by slashing them in a single hit and even impressing Hinata. With all 3 mana stones collected, he meets the qualification for his objective, while the proctor is speechless. The scene switches to the entrance of the Mage Association's headquarters. Here, Hinata hands him his official mage license. Seeing the card having his credentials on it at last, Ray experiences a catharsis. It makes sense because for many years he dragged himself just to clear the exam. All this time he persevered to become a mage, a porter who was never valued and always trampled upon. But with this card, he is officially a mage now. What's more, she hands him the details regarding the exchange rate of the collected mana stones. These stones are known for being a value drop from the monsters after their defeat. They're used as an energy source and can even be traded for money. Thanks to him defeating an A-rank monster, Ray is having the time of his life looking at his balance sheet. Bro literally got 3 fudging million for beating the monster, which shocks him immensely. The dude realizes just how easy it is for mages to live a good life. Even the proctor is cheering for his achievements, which is how you know she's a real homegirl. He decides to ask Hinata for a final request, which is revealed to us in the next scene. Standing before the unique-looking gate, Ray takes a second to admire his name and rank. Before, he couldn't enter any dungeons on his own. But with this development, he thinks he's finally got a chance to change the course of the future. Unexpectedly, someone casts their Mana Hand ability, which creates a giant astral hand and entraps our boy in place. Turns out it's actually Kai's lackeys from before, and the goons are making fun of him for trying to enter a dungeon on his own and breaching the rules. Ray surprises them by confessing that he passed the Mage exam, which is why he's qualified to do that now. But this fact is so unbelievably ridiculous to their ears that they think he's lying. Grabbing his skull, the clown implores our boy to show off his talent. Let's break down the Mana Hand ability for a second. It's actually a compression of mana manipulated into a physical form or shape. This is the reason why Ray is struggling to break free of its grasp, even with his enhancement skill. But that only goes for his hands. Since his legs are unrestrained, the dude literally propels himself with super speed and bashes the guy's nose with his head, causing an immediate nosebleed. And with this, Ray successfully steals the ability and frees himself as well. Mimicking his opponent, Ray unleashes his version of Mana Hand, restraining the clown in the same way he did. They can't believe that he was able to awaken his own talent. But while Ray is busy handling one of them, the other guy swoops in with his basic-ass fireball attack. To counter this attack, Ray activates his extreme body enhancement skill, emitting a glowing golden aura as he swipes away the fireball. His opponent is unable to process what's going on, when all of a sudden our boy dishes out a punch straight out of Dragon Ball Z and launches the dude into the wall. They can't believe that this guy has more than just one skill, to the point they're suspecting him to be a dual color wielder. But Ray amusingly denies them and manifests a fireball in his hand. Thanks to his contact with his opponent, he's able to successfully steal the skill. Unleashing the swirling ball of red, Ray corrects them by declaring that he's got another color on top of that. You can already tell that his opponents are shitting bricks right now at the discovery of his new skills. Top it off, no one has heard of a tricolor user before. Ray doesn't give in to their chatter and answers by tossing the fireball next to the guy. Not only that, he also releases the other dude from his shackles, questioning if they still want to mess around. The two idiots glance at each other and realizing that this is their only chance, they run for their lives like the pathetic douchebags they are. The real issue is actually Ray's brother, because if the Purple King ends up discovering what happened, it's gonna get a lot uglier. In the future, he's always been a lapdog serving Kai's every order. If word gets out that Ray awakened his new powers, Kai will definitely come to hunt him down, and because he's already level 50 right now, he's still one of the strongest mages around. Besides his brother, there were plenty of things he needed to worry about. For example, there was going to be a dungeon unlocking soon enough. Right now, all that mattered to him was increasing his level to the point he could actually hold his ground. That's why Ray is solo diving in a dungeon to improve his level. It's the only way he's going to get better skills and increase his mana pool to activate them. Walking contemplatively, dude's alarmed when a sudden monster ignites into existence. This scarecrow-looking creature is actually a flame wizard standing at a level 38, one level higher than the red cap he fights. Since he's only got enough mana to create one fireball right now, that's what he does in his left hand. The flame wizard is a different case, however, as he can easily channel the use of multiple fireballs. This deficiency and gap in skill is actually caused by the difference in levels. The fireballs are launched right towards our boy, who releases his own to counter them. Unfortunately for him, though, his attack only counters one of his opponent's fireballs, but the rest of them still require dodging. So he does, regaining his ground and assessing that this fight can't be won in a head-on collision. But despite the circumstances, one thing is certain. No matter the level of his opponent, there's always an opening that can be exploited. So Ray takes full advantage of that and closes down on the wizard who knows he's about to get his ass beat. With only a 2-second timer at his disposal, Ray demolishes the fire wizard with a Mike Tyson knockdown. Upon first contact, he immediately steals the fireball skill from his opponent, which is also the only method of the wizard's attack. The monster tries to attack him again, gesturing its weapon to cast the spell. But this battle's already over with Ray having stolen the skill, causing him to activate it around the wizard, engulfing the monster in a hurricane of flames. And with that, the fire wizard is defeated. Shortly after its defeat, our boy levels up 4 times in a row after beating a high-level monster. It only makes sense to him that the stronger monsters guarantee more experience points, and though typically it's quite troublesome to deal with these guys, skill drain is a surefire way of beating them with ease. We also get a reveal on his current level. Ray jumped from level 8 to 12 with this one encounter. Preparing himself for his arduous task ahead, he plans to get to level 30 at the very least in this dungeon. And so it begins as our boy takes down another fire wizard, and a red cap, as well as a lizard warrior. After a certain amount of time, he gained enough levels to climb all the way up to 27. But of course, it's getting harder to level up at the same exponential speed. That means, in order to reach level 30, he has to find even stronger monsters to kill. So that's what he does by venturing towards the deepest part of the dungeon, the boss room. Standing before it, Ray reflects that this is all he'll need to achieve his goal of getting to level 30. The boy reaches for the door and enters inside. It's an empty arena, and in the distance, a warrior is making his way to him out of the shadows. Donning a green aura, this monster is called the Skull Demon. His design is the definition of badass, and he's even got high-level imps as his underlings. Ray recognizes the threat, because now he's facing numerous high-level opponents in a direct flight. His only chance of victory is stealing their skills. Using body enhancement at full scale, our boy blitzes towards the boss monster. He pulls back his fist to prepare a powerful punch and releases it. But to his shock, the Skull Demon doesn't even move. In fact, the attack doesn't even connect to him as it is prevented by some kind of barrier. This alerts the mage as he draws back and gains his distance, spotting the hexagonal shield protecting the boss monster. It's just like he suspected. Getting through that mana barrier is a hassle. And because of that, he won't be able to use skill drain, which means the Skull Demon is a tough matchup for him. The demonic creature lets out a battle cry before speedily advancing towards its humanly target. Our boy appears shaken by its tremendous speed as the creature's attack misses him by an inch. Realizing that he's in a tough spot, Ray believes he should let loose with his last resort. In order to bypass that sturdy mana barrier, he's going to need to deploy a different approach. That's where the flying imps come in, because while our boy doesn't have enough strength on his own, he can do something else. So Ray rushes to target one of the flying imps, hitting it with a solid swing because, like I said, his hands are rated E for everyone, even if you're an oversized bat. This kicks in his skill drain ability, stealing the ice needle from them. Next up, our boy follows through with a fireball strike, demolishing the imp with his ability. With one of them turned into a burnt French fry, he spots the other and activates his newest ability, Ice Needle, to impale the second imp, sending it down immediately. Now that the distractions are removed from the battlefield, Ray focuses his attention on the Skull Demon, who casually resummons the imp using his summoning magic. You might be wondering that he wasted his time just now, but that's not the case at all. This ability is actually to his benefit, because this is exactly what Ray is looking for as he taps into his enhanced state again. Slashing apart another imp, he achieves level 28, allowing himself a chance to gather experience points. With the sudden level up, the system informs him about his qualifications to activate skill synthesis. This was Ray's plan all along. Let's go back to the Roaring Skull Demon, who spots Ray using the Ice Needle and the Fireball skills to take advantage. With simultaneous casting, he activates the synthesis process, merging the two skills into a unique mixture. Armed with this new ability, our boy lunges forth to strike down the monster with an aerial attack. Like last time, the Skull Demon activates his mana barrier to protect itself against the devastating Fire Lance attack. The attack connects with the shield, but it is beyond what the shield can take, causing it to shatter and eventually break apart to pieces. And that's how Ray broke the mana barrier and acquired it for himself. But the fight isn't over, as he activates his enhancement ability again to attack the Skull Demon. Having used his skill drain ability on the boss monster, he's removed its defenses. While the Skull Demon is still recovering from the previous attack, this dude whips out a second Fire Lance and impales it through the monster's chest. In its final moments, the creature burns a scarlet flame of red, swallowed whole by the attack. Upon the boss monster's defeat, it drops a green mana stone. Apart from that, Ray's personal development comes in the form of 4 level ups in a row, which is amazing since he's now level 33 by the end of a single battle. Having finally defeated the creature and penetrated its intense shield, our boy takes a second to take a breath. As for the process of skill synthesis he used earlier, let's take a few moments to see how it works. As the name suggests, it uses individual skills and combines them to form new and more advanced skills. It's a powerful technique that is only accessible around level 30. Ray was convinced he'd be able to tackle the technique very soon. That's why he hinged his entire plan on skill synthesis. It's a good thing that it worked out for him, because that boss battle was looking difficult at the beginning. Suddenly the system screen pops out a new message for our boy, explaining that he meets the level requirements to actually upgrade his skill drain ability. Before, he could only obtain and hold 3 skills in his arsenal at one time. But since he's leveled up, he can now store up to 5, which is a really convenient thing for him since he has a lot of options to play with. The scene cuts to the headquarters where our boy has brought the Mana Stone of the Skull Demon for an exchange. Witnessing its sight, Hinata is shocked that he was able to take down a high-level boss monster like that on his own, not to mention that this same guy is now level 33, all in the span of like a day's difference. Like last time, Rei's terrible with his excuses and basically tries to play it off that some luck was involved. But that's about being as lucky as finding $1 billion under your bed. Even Hinata's like, bro, stop the cap. It's just impossible to farm that many experience points in one day. She also gives him the good news. Since he's crossed level 30, he's qualified to actually be rated as a B-rank mage without any conditions binding him down. Well, the conversation was going smoothly, if not for the fact that a familiar voice came from behind. Rei's entire body froze when he heard his brother's arrogant chatter enter his ears. Kai refuses to believe that this loser brother of his is an actual B-rank, believing that it must be some kind of fluke or a mistake by the proctors. Just being around Kai's presence, our boy is sweating bullets because he really wanted to avoid running into him until way later. Hinata is also surprised to see him, while the Purple King mouths off how his shitty brother can't even use a single skill even if his life depended on it. That is what it meant to be a colorless person after all. So the fact that this same guy ended up a B rank is just ridiculous in front of Kai. Anyway, Hinata, being the OG supporter of our boy from day one, actually supports Rei and defends him, stating that he defeated both the Red Cap and the Skull Demon all on his own. This revelation causes Kai to immediately turn his attention to Rei with a skeptical and serious look. Channeling his purple aura, he questions if his little brother really is that competent now. Even more, this crazy bastard powers up an enhanced punch and literally attacks our boy on the spot. The sheer power of the punch is enough to shake the room. When the dust is settled, we see the aftermath. Kai's punch couldn't reach Rei, but it did destroy a part of his mana barrier. In return, the confident Rei shoots a glare at his brother and calls out his reckless approach. Seeing the two ready to throw down in a place like this has the proctor on edge. The Purple King realizes that his brother has finally awakened his powers, much to his surprise. The rumors all ended up being true, to which Rei agrees and confirms. Pulling back his punch, Kai argues that despite him having acquired a skill won't make a difference, and that he shouldn't get confident based off of that. After all, he's going to be Rei's ultimate test, basically declaring himself an enemy of his own brother. From the looks of it, Hinata is genuinely concerned that this guy is about to launch another attack, right inside the headquarters too. But thankfully, as crazy as this purple hair clown is, he doesn't go that far. Instead, Kai argues that he won't have any trouble facing his brother even if he were a true B-rank magician. Also, he goes on to accuse our boy of having cheated his way up to where he's at now, believing that there must be some kind of trickery involved. But this is just a provocation, so that Rei can accept his challenge of fighting him in a match. Our boy knows that if he refuses his brother here, it's going to get even more chaotic for him down the road. That's why, despite their difference in levels, he meets his eyes with determination and accepts Kai's challenge, something that his brother didn't expect at all, so much so that it frustrates the Purple King. Anyway, the scene cuts to the arena of the Mage Association headquarters, a more fitting place for their matchup. Standing against his powerful opponent, Rei collects his thoughts, believing that one strategic way to face someone stronger than you is to always be wary of the resources at your disposal. For example, the mana difference plays a huge role, which is why he can't risk dropping his guard in this fight even for a second. The problem is, he's only level 30, so at best, he has the mana resources to activate 3 skills at the same time. But Kai? That guy is level 50, and his combo capacity could range up to 5 skills, giving him a natural edge in their fight. That means, this battle can't be a head-on fight, because Rei literally cannot beat his brother's mana pool without exhausting his own first. Hence, his approach is to try and close their gap with something else. The battle begins right away with our boy shooting his first attack in the form of ice needles. Meanwhile, Kai is unfazed and creates 4 fireballs on his side. Both attacks are launched against each other, and the moment the ice needles clash with the fireballs, the result is an explosion. Now, I was actually expecting Kai to win in this clash, but it's surprising even to him that Rei is already on the offensive. Thanks to his body enhancement skill, he quickly narrowed the gap between the two, attempting to overwhelm his opponent in close quarters combat. This shocks Kai immensely, because it confirms to him that his brother is also a dual color wielder now. The interesting part is that Rei's lunge here is a calculated approach. He knows that because Kai has exhausted his mana in 4 fireballs, he should only have about 1 more skill usage left. So not only does Rei use body enhancement, he doubles down by activating Fire Lance as well. That's 3 skills activated at the same time, basically guaranteeing his victory if the attack hits his opponent. Now Kai is astonished to see that his brother commands not just 2, but 3 skills at the same time. But instead of despairing, a smile is carved on his face, as if it doesn't matter at all. Kai activates Fireball right when his opponent gets in his face, sending Ray flying from the impact. Here's the part that not even Ray can comprehend. That single Fireball at the end was able to match his Fire Lance and even overpower it, which should be impossible. The arrogant Kai finally understands why his brother is so confident in this battle. It's because he's a tricolored user who thought this was going to be easy for him. But the difference is simple. Their levels are far too different from each other. And now, it's his turn to overpower Ray, so he throws a bunch of fireballs at him. Avoiding those fireballs, Ray bolts away as fast as he can, and from a distance, retaliates with another usage of his Fire Lance attack. I have to say, even though the story is simple, I love the art style being used to show different abilities. Anyway, the Purple King isn't the least bit intimidated and simply counters the attack with his Fireball skill again. That single fireball annihilates Ray's Fire Lance and has enough energy to make its way to him. Thankfully, Ray activates his mana barrier to block the attack. But here's the twist. Not even his mana barrier is enough to hold its ground against Kai's simple usage of Fireball. It shatters the shield upon impact and sends Ray flying back from shock. From the looks of this fight, his brother is consistently overpowering him without even exerting any effort. Ray is in a serious pinch because all his skills have proven useless so far. Seeing that his victory is basically guaranteed, Kai offers his brother a chance to be forgiven. All he wants is for Ray to humiliate himself by kneeling down in front of him and accept that he was wrong for taking him head-on in a fight. Internalizing his frustration, Ray reflects that his situation is difficult because he can't do much about his skills or his mana pool. The despairing thought of surrendering the fight welcomes his body, but then he remembers the life he already endured 10 years into the future. He was nothing more than a slave to his crazy-ass brother. That alone fuels him with enough motivation to continue the battle and stand his ground. So he roars his refusal to meet Kai's demands. Hearing that, the Purple King becomes enraged. The same colorless and pathetically weak brother was now standing up against him. Deciding to go all out, Kai unleashes his overclock technique, amplifying his fireball skill to unfathomable levels at the cost of spending his mana. Arming the fireball in his hand, Kai demonstrates the true power of a king. 10 fireballs all appear surrounding him, allowing him to overpower any opponent in his path. Spotting the technique, Ray understands that this same strength is the very reason his brother is one of the strongest magicians in the world. Compared to other kings, he has the capacity to expend a ton of mana at a single point as his special talent. However, despite standing in the face of defeat, Ray confesses that he was waiting for him to activate that skill. Ray's sudden announcement is followed by his confident forward motion. He's running to the very danger that most magicians would run away from. Now, the obvious fact about the 10-hit fireball attack is that it requires the use of the overclock technique. But there's a catch. Ray jumps into the air, making Kai call him an idiot for positioning himself in the worst way possible. It's at this moment that Kai unleashes his barrage of fireballs and sends it flying his way. It's exactly what our boy had been anticipating, as he commands the use of his mana hand, the ability that he conveniently kept hidden from his opponent until now. The mana hand actually smashes the ground, shocking Kai by the revelation of his brother being able to activate 4 skills. As for Ray, he believes that it doesn't matter if it's 10 fireballs or 20, as long as he can avoid getting hit, he should be fine. So using the mana hand that is hooked to the ground, he yanks his body in a speedy motion, allowing him to get behind Kai right when his ability cooldown is activated. In this critical moment, despite being many levels higher than Ray, Kai is defenseless because of the technique he used. It's because of that, in that brief window, he is vulnerable. So our boy hits him with the good old catch these hands attack, rocking the arrogant king's worldview and sending him crashing into the ground. Ray is genuinely the GOAT for actually being smart about the way he fights. I'm impressed. Here's the icing on the cake. Now he's acquired Kai's overclock technique as well. With that skill in Ray's inventory, this battle is decided. But Kai isn't quite done, cursing his brother as he gets up again. Our boy's a little worried because this psychotic mage is really planning to kill him here and now for landing a clean hit on him. And so that's what he does, coating his purple magic inside the icicle lance and activating his true skill, the demon lance. Seeing that skill activated, Ray is terrified because it's Kai's best skill in his inventory. The problem is, he didn't expect his brother to already know about this skill so early on in his life. Kai sends his demonic lance towards his brother, who is barely able to dodge it. The sheer speed and power of his demonic lance is causing a lot of problems for Ray. Not to mention that this bastard can create more demonic lances at will. The only reason Ray had been able to land a clean hit up until now is merely because his opponent took him lightly and was playing around. but even he knows that the Purple King's might is terrifying when he gets serious. The demonic lances continue to target down their victim. Ray is barely hanging on as he evades each lance, knowing that he's getting outclassed with the way things are going. With his back hitting the wall, it seems like the end for him. The Purple King has him right where he wanted, and he's got enough mana to finish him off. Doing the best he can in this moment, Ray retaliates with his fire lance strike. Kai obviously sends another demonic lance in his way, causing a massive explosion with both lances colliding with each other. The impact sends Ray crashing into the arena's wall and leaving a crater. He's practically standing on his last limb, while Kai talks him down, reminding his brother why he's known as the Purple King, and why he's hailed as one of the strongest magicians ever. And it's not like he is spreading lies. Even Ray knows all too well about his brother's powers. Meanwhile, Kai taunts him for acting like a big shot with a few skills in his arsenal. But thanks to that, Ray reaches a sudden realization. Though he can't match his brother with raw output or skills, he can do something else. He could potentially harness the true power of the purple skill. After all, so far he'd only been synthesizing 2 colors because of his limited mana capacity, hindering him from unleashing his true potential. So that's what he does. This dude literally activates the overclock technique and looks majestic as hell while doing it. In response, his brother is stunned that he can also use the same technique as his own. With this, he's already doubled his usage of mana, and based on his observation, he has unlocked an upgraded version of Skill Synthesis. A version that no one has, and it's called Skill Synthesis Black. This is exactly the trump card he needed. Ray confidently smiles, causing Kai some serious amount of worry, knowing that he's just increased his mana capacity. Our boy gathers the energy in his hand, reflecting how no one in the world had activated a tricolored synthesis before. By merging the red fireball skill with the ice needle blue skill, and finally perfecting it with his enhancement yellow skill, Ray unlocks a purplish-black power, a skill that is black in nature, a color that not even Kai had encountered before. To understand this deeply, we learn that mana is composed of blue, red, and yellow energies. And at some point, he was so weak that he couldn't harvest the power of any one of these colors. But his own analysis was wrong. His body was unique in a way that it could swallow all 3 types of mana. The once weak and colorless mage now stands firm with the power of a dark mage, and he's ready to end Kai's career with his next attack. With the pairing of the fundamental 3 colors becomes an entirely new skill, the ultimate skill called Black. Skill Synthesis. Black is also the improved version of the normal synthesis skill, and this results in the creation of an ability known as the Abyss Flame. Ray reflects that he's already done his job of swallowing the mana and officially announces himself as the Dark Mage. As for his brother, he's starting to sweat bullets out here and uses his projectile ability to stop his brother from evolving any further. The purple lance is aimed right for his head, but Ray is no longer threatened and completely engulfs the attack using his dark magic. The very sight of Ray's defense is shocking to Kai, because now his opponent was charging at him with an attack of his own. The Purple King finds himself cornered, so he unleashes a large projectile in the hopes of countering the dark spherical magic ball inside Ray's palm. The Dark Mage pulls back and finally releases the wrath of the Abyss Flame skill, an attack that clashes against Kai's enormously large purple lance ability. The conflict lasts for only a moment, until eventually, Kai's ability is overwhelmed and his confidence shatters when the attack fully connects with him, resulting in a deafening purple explosion. When the dust settles, Ray is the only one standing, his body exhausted from the stress of the battle and the overwhelm of using his new power. But the outcome is no different. The fight ends with Kai's unconscious body hitting the floor and him sleeping like a log. Ray can't believe what he just did. He had finally defeated his brother, even if it was a weaker version of him from the past. Suddenly, the system screen pops out and informs the Dark Mage of his new skill acquisition. Now, Abyss Flame was officially a part of his inventory, which alone means Ray has reached a new level of power. With the battle concluding, the Proctor Hinata is seen quickly rushing inside, checking in on Ray's condition. It's pretty funny to me that she's not worried about the dude that's potentially dead, but our boy instead. Ray gives her the good signal that he's doing all right. Now, Hinata did observe the showdown between the two of them, and she's just as baffled about the skill. Of course, at this point, even our boy is starting to understand that he can't go on hiding his abilities forever, as that would be impossible. Showcasing a hint of his dark powers, he shares that it is supposed to be some kind of a black skill. Witnessing the motes and specks of black surrounding his body, Hinata's eyes widened, realizing that he's the one and only person in the entire world to have such a unique skill. Since this is officially out now, Ray wants to know if he should publicly report to the association about his unique skill, because he'd much rather that this matter is kept a secret and doesn't make a fuss in the world. Hinata's a bit shocked by his reaction, going as far as to tell him that he might be trampling over an opportunity of a lifetime over here. Our boy doesn't get it, so the proctor enlightened him by explaining that each strongest representative of their color is actually granted the title of king. This is evidenced by Kai being the purple king, as he's the strongest in that category. Hinata expresses that since he's the only black mage in the entire world, they could officially declare him as the Black King right off the bat. Now that is one crazy-ass name, but you didn't hear that from me. For a second, he ponders the possibilities. It's still unaligned with his personal interests, so he basically declines the spotlight for now. There's also the issue of his level being extremely low compared to other kings, which could pose a problem. Changing topics, Ray turns his attention to the sleeping young man and requests Hinata to go and check on the guy's condition. But the proctor isn't even worried a bit, believing that he will recover like all kings do, as they have a high healing factor. She intends to bring him into the medical ward. Suddenly, both of their phones buzz at the same time, receiving an alarming message. When Ray checks the message, he learns of a critical warning of an appearance of a dangerous dungeon with a minimum level recommendation of 70. Hinata's surprised, but our boy is straight up horrified. The fearsome Ikebukuro dungeon is here at last, and though the recommended level is 70, the current kings are still at level 50 or more at this point in time. In the original timeline, in the very first week, all of the kings despairingly discovered just how weak they truly were. That's actually one of the reasons that the Ikebukuro dungeon is unique in being left abandoned for a while. But that's exactly what resulted in the start of a slaughtering tragedy, as frightening monsters of red began erupting out of the dungeon. This phenomenon is known as a dungeon collapse, which understandably occurs when a dungeon isn't completed in a set duration after its appearance. Of course, even as early as this point of the story, they had absolutely no clue that something like a dungeon collapse could occur. They had no idea that a dungeon is based on a time limit, and that monsters teemed outside of it if left alone. The Ikebukuro dungeon became the first of its kind, classified as the first dungeon collapse and break in the original timeline, and resulting in a ton of casualties. Tokyo was fully engulfed with raging high-level monsters and left a sea of blood in their wake as only a few people made it out alive. But this time, Ray is determined to stop this gruesome tragedy from occurring again, because he declares it a personal responsibility to stop the dungeon collapse. The Black Mage declares to Hinata that he'll independently conquer the dungeon, a remark that comes across as alarming to the proctor, who believes it's far too dangerous even with his skills considered. Then there's the fact that only the A-rank mages are even allowed to access the dungeon with a high recommendation level like this. Well, it's a good thing that he's got a bunch of time to kill before the dungeon collapse officially occurs. Knowing that the next A-rank evaluation exam was in a week's worth of time, Ray states that he will soar to the top of the A-rank with his results in the upcoming exam.